if we're distracted by, I call them minor fears, it's because we're afraid to deal with what we're really afraid of, and just walking yourself there. And that's what I had to do. I actually had to pause and say, what would happen? And if you're experiencing fear, that's what would happen if that happened, and go face the worst outcome. And then say, and even then I will choose life.
Fear stops us from achieving our true greatness. Are you a professional woman who is feeling stuck, unmotivated, or burned out? Are you worried about your wellness? Are you letting fear stop you from crushing your goals? If you answered yes to any or all of these, then this is the podcast for you. Dr. Charmaine Gregory, night shift emergency physician, burnout thriver, and wellness champion, along with everyday heroes just like you, will explore how to face fear in our lives and emerge victoriously.
Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. Be sure to click the subscribe button and the notification bell so you get notified when the next video comes out. It only takes 2 seconds to make 2 clicks. So let's do it. Let's get back to the video. Hello, Fearless Freedom Tribe. This is Dr. G, and we are back for another exciting episode of Fearless Freedom with Dr. G. And today we have the pleasure of having Victoria Rader with us, and she's going to tell you all about what she's up to and who she is. Take it away, Victoria.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I love the whole Fearless Tribe, man. It has such a great zing to it. So yes, I'm possibility coach and founder of You to Shine. I've written a bunch of books. All of them got to be international bestsellers, all on self-improvement and how to be better in everything you do in your life. But what attracted me to your amazing energy is that I'm also a founder of Free-mE EFT, which is a unique way of doing emotional freedom technique, which allows for us to not only release the stagnant emotion, but to also affirm and bring the new energy that we actually want to have in its place. So that's who I am. That's what I do. And I'm thrilled to talk about anything freedom related.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, we are huge proponents of addressing the things that hold us back so that we can indeed be truly free. So this is going to be a great conversation. So tell us, how did you get into this? I mean, that's not a typical career path. How did that even evolve?
Great question, Charmaine. So the way it started actually is I used to say I'm born in Ukraine, and people were like, Russia, and I'm like, no, Ukraine. But now I say I'm born in Ukraine, people start crying. So I'm like,
oh no,
you can't win on that one. And most of my profits, 80% of the profits and everything that the book Prosper Me is going to bring, for as long as we are seeking peace back home, will be going to support that. So, I kind of, I'm very mindful of what's happening there. But I was born in Ukraine, and came to US when I was in my early 20s because I married my husband. And I thought it was a great idea to teach my kids history by taking them to places. So I took them to Greece. I started homeschooling them, took them to Greece, came home. My husband sat me down and he's like, I don't know how it's done in Ukraine, but here in US, there's nothing attached to the plastic card you've been swiping. You just put us into debt.
Oh,
so
no.
I literally, it's like 2007. So I go and I Google, what's the fastest way to make money in US? I actually Googled that. 2007, the real estate market is hot. Properties are flying off like cupcakes. So it says realtor. So I'm the doer. So I go get my real estate license. I get licensed. I join the brokerage. 2008, the Great Recession starts.
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh.
So timing is everything. But what happened actually is rather miraculous, because I got a real estate coach. And within a year and a half, I became top 1% of the agents in the US while homeschooling my kids, while not working on Sunday. And just people started asking me, come talk to us what it is that you do. And I started first doing business training and real estate training. And then I realized that all of our conscious efforts are minimized by our subconscious trauma, beliefs, genetic predisposition, common consciousness. And, and I figured, okay, a lot of the stuff I've taken for granted was just unconscious competence. My wiring got me there. Not because I'm such a good person, disciplined and just got lucky. That's just it. I got lucky with the programming that I got. Not on everything, but on the things that impressed people. You know what I'm saying? I
I
was
got
telling
you.
people,
Yeah.
my crap is hidden, okay? There's a lot of accolades because my crap is hidden. So, but bottom line is I was so fascinated by subconscious programming. I went and got a PhD in metaphysical sciences, kind of combining quantum physics and spirituality. And then I got certified in every energy healing modality I could get my hands on, NLP, neuro linguistic programming, EFT, emotional freedom technique, theta healing, all the way to the highest level in each one of them, trained, taught seminars in certification of EFT. So in 2013, I left real estate full time and founded my company, You to Shine. And all of our efforts is geared towards programs, services, and products for people to not only have spiritual understanding and subconscious programming, but also very practical, palpable steps, right? So it's just kind of combining. That's in a nutshell is a journey, a debt. Hence the book, Prosper Me, because it all started with a debt.
Wow, that is an amazing story. I love that your spirit took you to do that though. Like the initial event is what I'm talking about, where you're like, oh yeah, we're gonna learn history. Let's just go to Greece. Like, let's just do it. And then
With
I
an
love you.
8-year-old, with an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old and a mother. So
That is
to
just
say,
so fun. And then I love how and your husband sounds like he's a very, very like fun guy because he's like yeah, you see that thing that you use to purchase all of that? There's nothing behind that.
well,
It's not an exchange for fiat like it's not currency.
no, you'll have an appreciation for this because I always tell when I work with entrepreneurs, I say, let me get it straight. You left your 9 to 5 job seeking freedom, and now you're working 9 to 9 and you are completely free from money. Like there is no so be specific what you ask for, because I mean I've been there, we've all been there.
Oh
You
yes. Oh
pursue
yes.
the freedom of spirit very often is accompanied for quite a while with the freedom from
Of money.
finances.
Yeah, yeah. It's true. That is true. And when the two do align though, it is quite beautiful. But you're right. That is I think that's something that every entrepreneur does go through. That is so true.
I think it's a rite of passage, it's a rite of passage. It's almost like, universe, God is testing you and saying, are you gonna give up? Are you gonna quit?
Yeah.
Can you push from resistance to resilience? Like, it's the shaping of who we are, I think. Yeah.
Agreed, absolutely. And this entrepreneurship life is definitely not for the faint of heart. So there is for sure a rite of passage, as you say.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. And so it didn't sound like you had a lot of fear when you were getting everybody on the plane to go to Greece. It didn't sound like you had a lot of fear when you were confronted on your return by your significant other about, hey, there are consequences to this. And it didn't sound like you had a lot of fear when you said, okay, well, I'm a solutions oriented person. I'm just going to go figure out how I can make this money and prove that I have I carry my weight here. Right. And so then it didn't sound like you had a lot of fear either when you sought out to get your real estate license. It also didn't sound like you had a lot of fear when you got a real estate coach and you were crushing it in a time when lots of people were having the opposite outcome. Am I right? Did you not have any fear, any of these things, or am I just totally out in left field?
Two two completely amazing things to observe is that everything is relative. And it's true that I genuinely had no fear, I had a lot of discomfort. But the reason why is because I have faced real fear very early in my life.
Mm.
right? And so what, once again, what kind of looked like I was and it actually had to do a lot with a lot of deaths in my life. I was only 2 when my uncle died, 5 when my grandpa died, and
Oh, wow.
5 when I had a very tragic moment of walking into the sea with my mom and dad, and having, I'm not going to describe all the details, but let's just say there was a person who drowned, and I became an immediate recipient of the outcome of that, right? Without making it graphic for anybody. And so
Sure.
from a very early age, I actually had a grasping fear of death and dying, and a grasping fear of swimming in water as a result of that. And so what looked like fearlessness on the surface, I think, is a denial strategy of trying to stay so busy that you're proving to yourself you're alive. And I've
Mm.
done that so well, because compared to not drowning, to not dying, to not remembering death, after, like, in 2013, I lost 11 people. Actually, I lost 13 people in 2013, including my best college friend, dying of cancer. And
Oh,
so,
gosh.
the miracle of that to me was, at some point, and there's, I can talk about the healing of that for a long time, but at some point, I realized that the only reason it hurts so much is because I'm using the energy of loss to propagate me blindly through life. And I had to sit down and say, I get emotional. I'm going to make every one of their lives matter. Because, you have survival guilt where you go, well, how come I'm alive? And how come, and then you accomplish. But it was a much deeper meaning of saying, I've got to stop being afraid of losing somebody else. I have to find what happens, how it happens. I need to welcome death so that I can welcome life fully. So that's probably where the real fear got released. Because honestly, what's there to fear of somebody rejecting you if you're secretly fearing that your husband, who is 26 years older, by the way, married for 27 now, will die, having watched
Mm.
everybody die for so many years? So I
Mm-hmm.
think I think very often what appears fearless on the surface is the mimicking of a greater fear and keeping yourself busy from acknowledging it. And I got really good at that.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. That is that is and that is a very personal thing that you shared, and I really appreciate you for letting us into that space, because it is not an easy thing to have that kind of self-awareness where you were able to identify that there was a lot of negative energy that you were having towards your losses, and it was affecting, even though it didn't seem like to the outside that it was affecting your world, it actually was affecting your world, because it was how, I mean, I'm sure how you look at your sweetheart, like the things you think about, like, that affects you over time. So I love that you're now in a place where you're thinking, you know what, I'm not going to fear loss. I'm going to embrace life, right? So every day is a win. And that is incredible. And I think that is the most amazing pearl. So thank you so much for sharing that, because I think that you just shared is going to impact a lot of people who are listening to this broadcast.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I,
thank you
I
for being
sure
real.
hope and trust so. I sure hope and trust so, because I think for all of us, if we're distracted by, I call them minor fears, it's because we're afraid to deal with what we're really afraid of, and just walking yourself there. And that's what I had to do. I actually had to pause and say, what would happen? And then if you're experiencing fear, that's what would happen if that happened, and go face the worst outcome. And then say, and even then I will choose life. And that gives you such a flow and a wave of freedom, of really saying, So I don't have to wait for it to happen. I don't have to live my life waiting for it to end or waiting for somebody else's life to end. I get to live my life. And so then, yeah, if I lose a little money on the business venture, who cares? I mean, because I'm not afraid to live in a 1-bedroom apartment. I live there with my it's yeah.
Right. No, that's an amazing perspective. And I'm sure as a result of that outlook, that perspective, you enjoy your life, right? I mean, because the two kind of go hand in hand. Like if you are consumed by the fear of outcomes, then you never try things, right? I mean, but then once you try things that you maybe wouldn't have previously tried, you find that there are things that you enjoy that had you not tried it, you would never have discovered that. And so you end up living like a very abundant life, right? Because you're not limiting yourself because of fear, which I think is amazing. That is such a great testimony. Absolutely. That is such a great testimony. I'm sorry, my mom decided to call me. I don't think she knew I was recording. I was like, oh, the phone's ringing.
Hey, when mom is checking in, all the childhood fears come to the surface. And we shifted.
She's calling me again.
It doesn't get much better than that. Doesn't get much better than that.
That is so funny.
You're like, you're doing well, Charmaine. You're on the roll, girl.
Oh my. Like if people who are watching the video, they can see like I'm all red in the face now.
It matches my book. We did it on purpose. Thank you, Mom.
There you go.
The
Perfect.
setup was perfect. That was
perfect timing. Oh my gosh. Hey, it's Dr. G, and I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank you for listening to this episode. I'm so honored to have you here with me. Did you know that I can help you to get your own podcast started? With my podcasting launch course for professionals, I walk you through everything you need to know about starting a podcast. I'm with you every step of the way, from sign up to launching your show, with 5 episodes ready to go. There's a done for you version that's also available. If you would just rather just do recordings and leave the behind the scenes work up to us, then that one is definitely for you. But either way, we've got your back here at Fearless Freedom with Dr. G. Oh, if you already have a show and you need production services, we have monthly plans available for you. So check out the links in the episode show notes for more information. Let's get back to the show. So we were talking about your book and how this one came about, because you've had several before this one. How did this one come about? And let's hear more about that.
It's interesting because there are bits and pieces of the story, and I get interviewed honestly a little bit, and I don't think I've ever felt like sharing the whole story. So here you go, because I think
nice.
Somebody needs to hear it to maybe encourage them to walk through the dark and trusting, right? I just, for some reason, it just seems to be so. I'll do a little intro because I think that's the principle that the story gives itself to, and then we'll go back to it. We talk about trust and guidance, the two things. A lot of us are like guided. We have this desire to do something and we pursue it. And then we're in the middle of pursuing it and it's like sneaks away and it's like crickets. And I don't think people talk enough about it. It's like crickets. So then imposter syndrome creeps in and you're like, you're hanging in the air. You can't fly. You're going to fall down, right? I mean, flap your wings, do whatever it takes. But I think it's very important to realize that you get that inkling to do something. You got to act on it immediately and then expect that there will be a period of lull, because we are learning 2 parallel virtues. We're learning trust and we're learning guidance, and they feed off each other. So if you guide it and you follow it, then when there is lull, you keep trusting that when you need it again, the same inner prompting, the same spirit, the same feeling that got you going in the beginning, that it'll come through again. And I think it's so important because this whole story with the book is how it was. In March 20, this is now 2022. So March 2021, I am minding my own business. I'm overworking. I have like 9 seminars I'm teaching. I love teaching. So, and it was this feeling comes in the very still small voice, it's like cancel everything for March. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to cancel it because I think I'm overworked, because our brain wants to interpret what our heart tells us.
Sure.
Right? Because there is no fear in the heart. The fear lives in the brain. So, freedom is all about letting heart rule your brain, right? In so many ways. So when there's courage, because heart comes from Latin core, which is courage. So when that feeling in your heart comes in and the brain says, don't, my brain went in, well, but you got bills, you got da. And I'm like, no, I'm taking March off. So I took the March off and I really thought it was to rest. But the second day that I've taken the day off, it was like, you need to write your next book. I'm like, dang it, there goes my March. And I started writing a book, and you will love it because it was going to be called F off marble for a swear word, I am free.
Okay.
And it was
Love
all
it.
on seeking the freedom. It was inspired by the story that, that I might come to, but the story will distract us from the book writing. And so I was really, really in this freedom space of writing the book. And I started writing it and I got halfway. One of the publishers fell through. I was guided to a better publisher. And she got into the book and she said, the book is great. I don't like the title. The book can be a bestseller. We need to change the title. So I started pondering on the title, and what came through was love me. And when it came through, the word, the me came in as little m big E. I was like, that's interesting. I'll find out why. And so I'm writing this book on love me, on different centers of energy in our body. I call them possibility centers. So the heart center, the love me center. And I'm naming the chapters as master me, see me, hear me, love me, empower me, create me, and prosper me, that coincide to the traditional chakras in the energy system. For me, there are possibility centers of opening. So excited about the book. And then I'm on a plane to Costa Rica, actually, with my mom, taking her for a treat for 3 days. And there's this clear prompting. I'm like, how can I squeeze all of this knowledge into one book? And it was, you're not supposed to. You're supposed to write 7. But the first one is not love me. The first one is prosper me, because when people are in survival, it's hard for them to feel loved. It's not impossible, but it's hard because we are human beings first. And I know we talk about that there is a spirit that goes through us, that there is the energy that sustains us. But here now, this body needs to eat. I mean,
Right.
And we like food with our meals. And so what came through was this prosperous foundation of reminding us who we are. And it was only when I got there that little M big E made sense. And that is that we are matter, that is mortal, that is material, that is manifesting only through surrendering to energy and essential and expensiveness of eternity that we are, right? That this is who we are. We're both things. So that's the long version of how the book was born. And the content was easy because I have an app that had the 35 laws that I taught on. I had videos. So combining the two with help of beautiful team and then writing and rewriting. Prosper Me was channeled. One of the laws is the law of synchronicities. I wrote the book and, I'm looking at the numbers and I'm like, okay, you tell me that there isn't a law of synchronicity or divine timing as to where we are right now. And that actually breaks my heart quite a bit. In the US, we are at the highest inflation in 41 years. 60% of Americans report waking up in the middle of the night with stress, cold sweats, worrying about money. And then the one that really made me actually cry the other day, I was looking at 35% of us don't even have $1,000 for accidentals. That if something happens in our life that's more than 1,000, we go into debt. Like, So the timing for the book, I think, was divinely guided, and I couldn't have known it. So for anybody who tells you you got to have a full vision and go pursue it, it works for 0.1% of population.
Right.
The rest of us, we just see that next little glimpse and you jump onto it.
Right.
And you hold onto it. Yeah. So that's it. That's the story of how the book was born.
Oh, it's fantastic. Love it. And then, so the book you said is available June 25th, right?
Yes. Okay. June 25th on Amazon, wherever you are, and eventually, hopefully, in the bookstores around the world. We'll see.
Yeah. Bookstores. It's funny because, when we moved to Guam, like when we were in Michigan, we used to go to Borders all the time, which is one of the books. I mean, I don't know if you have Borders where in your state, but okay, perfect. But like they were the two big ones, there's Borders and then there's Barnes and Nobles. And so you would kind of alternate between the two, even in college, go study at Borders or study at Barnes and Nobles, doesn't matter. But, when Borders closed, that was a sad day, right? And then, you had one less large bookstore to go to. And I guess was a good thing and a little bit of a boon for the smaller booksellers. Those are always really neat to support because, obviously they get overshadowed oftentimes by the bigger ones. But, that loss, I mean, having that big store removed and that big meeting place around books removed just kind of suddenly from our area, we had gotten used to not going to the bookstore anymore. And I don't know why we would go to Borders more than we went to Barnes and Nobles. Like there was no real reason, but it was just, when that one left, we kind of didn't go there anymore. And so when we moved here and we went to the mall, again, another thing that doesn't really exist anymore. But it does here. So we went to the mall, and the mall, by the way, is quite vibrant and alive and a great place where people come together and do things and, all that stuff, which is what the mall was before. Right. So we went to the mall and we actually saw like a bookstore. Yay! And we were like, wow. And so sometimes we go to the bookstore and we go and we peruse the aisles and we find some really neat things. And, you don't always go in there with a motive. Like you don't always go in there to actually purchase something, but you just walk by and you're like, hey, let's just go look in the bookstore. And so I didn't realize how much we used to do that before until, we moved now to a place where that's a possibility again. So yes, I hope that you get into the bookstores because bookstores.
I might fly them to Guam.
There you go. I mean, bookstores do exist. They do exist.
For our college students, if you're listening to this.
Right. I'm just saying bookstores are real. Like they do exist. Oh my gosh. No, that's awesome. So Amazon is going to be like the international go-to pretty much at this point. And then in the future. Okay, cool. Awesome. And for those who are listening, do you mind saying the title and then spelling your last name so that they can know to find it properly?
Perfect. So the title is Prosper Me, the 35 Universal Laws to Make Money Work for You. And the name is spelled Victoria, and then the last name is Rader, Victoria Rader.
Fantastic.
So yes, we know, I don't know that there are any other Prosper Me books, but I'd like you to prosper with me.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it's so interesting that you talk about this because I talk about this quite often on the show because I have a very interesting mindset shift when it comes to money and my energy around money. And even my husband is like, I know you think you're a money magnet. And I'm like, yeah, I am a money magnet. I'm just saying, like, the more I believe it is the more it's going to happen.
true. It's very true. Well, but we've barely met, but the amount of joy that radiates from you, because that's what being a money magnet is in a healthy way, right? That's what it is. It's when you look at people talk about three resources: money, time, and energy. But in a pure universal sense, there is one resource, and that's energy. And when you tune in to the resource of gratitude and radiance, then yeah, then the other two just kind of line up, and you find time for fun things and joyful things, and you find money. So it all starts with that genuine gratitude. I honestly put the law of gratitude as the first law. And I got to tell
Nice.
you, you have such a radiance of gratitude from you. So when you look for gorgeous miracles, little things to be grateful for, you're living by the law, whether you know it or not. The
Interesting.
beautiful thing is, when we might have mastered the laws without knowing it. So then it becomes a point of awareness, and you go like, oh, that's
Mm,
me, that's me, that's me. And then it's like, well, that's why, and that's why. And if it's the other way around, hopefully it's like, oh, that's me. So then you can change it, right? But that's so much your energy coming through you. You're just grateful for life.
thank you.
So
I am
money's
very
like,
grateful. I am very grateful.
yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. No. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Thank you for sharing your perspective. Thank you for sharing your book, because I feel like this is something that people really do. They need it. They need something like that right now. They need to have a different attitude towards what's happening and how they can change their lives. And I think that is timely. And I know you did not plan for it to be coming out now, but I'm telling you that this is the perfect time. So
Right.
I know that you're going to have great success with it. And I know that you're going to be able to, get lots and lots of money donated back to your homeland, which is really, really, really great side effect of the book's sales. So thank you for doing that. I
Thank
will
you.
say that I did know one of my colleagues when I was in Michigan. He is from the Ukraine, and he used to dance.
Oh yeah.
And I thought that was really neat, really, really neat.
Yeah, well, when you look at the history, we'll shift for a moment, because when you look at a history of Ukraine, it actually had the first democratic government. A lot of people don't know that. In 1650s, we had a publicly selected official. It was called hetman, which is like a president, and our women voted with our men. So
Nice,
let me
nice.
tell you, and when you have a neighborhood country that still has a czar, you're not very popular. So my
Right.
joke is every 50, 70 years, there's extermination of freedom-loving Ukrainians. I'm laughing at it because when you keep crying, you keep dying, you're a victim. But when you keep laughing, you're overcoming, right? So it's kind of built in with me. There have been several artificial famines. 1933, 9 million Ukrainians were starved. Starved. The basket of the Europe, we had the most grain at a time of Stalin because there was so much entrepreneurial spirit. They would come and they would collect the grain and take it out. 9 million people died. And so I know to the world, in the world's eyes, this is new and this is horrific and there's no explanation for it. But for Ukrainians, this has been for over 500 years. And we're really hoping that this time freedom will stick,
Oh
right?
my
We're,
gosh,
that's
yes,
that's
please.
where this is kind of to me, it's a final battle. It's not out of nowhere war. I think it is now so visible and so global that it cannot be shoved under any geopolitical carpet anymore. And so I do know with every bit of my heart that when freedom prevails in Ukraine now, freedom will prevail in a lot of hearts globe wise. A lot of people will say, wait a minute, if a little country could do this, I can do this too. It's my life. It's worth fighting for. I really think there is much more than just a war over land that is happening. You know.
Thank you for sharing that history, because I had not known that.
Mhm.
And so that's a good backstory to be aware of, so you can have a good perspective on everything that's happening. So I appreciate you for sharing that. Awesome.
Absolutely.
All right. I am so excited that you took time out of your busy day to spend with us. We really appreciate you. And we are at that point in the show where we do our tradition. So are you ready for fill in the blanks?
Ready.
All right, cool. She looks ready. Awesome.
We just have no idea what's going to come through.
Well, you
I
know
do
what?
look
That's
at the
okay. That's
questions,
okay.
But we're
That's
just,
okay.
we're going to let it
okay.
be.
That's okay. All right, here we go. The first one is, to me, fearless freedom means
Quantum freedom. It actually means quantum freedom. It's the freedom that is on a deep, deep, deep subconscious level, to the degree that it is unstoppable, it is hungry, and it is just coming out of you.
awesome. That sounds so good. The next one is, if I am fearless, I will.
I will be me. I will be me. Little M, big E. I will be me.
Love it. Love it. And then the last one is, my battle cry is
surrender to love. Surrender to love. Love overcomes fear. So surrender to love.
awesome. 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 So I thank you again for your time. And I know that the Fearless Freedom Tribe is going to be keeping their eye out for the release of Prosper Me, the 35 Universal Laws to Make Money Work for You by Victoria Rader, because I know it's going to make an immense impact on those that read it and also on your countrymen back home.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What an amazing time. Thank you. Thank you for hosting me.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Fearless Freedom with Dr. G. Again, I'm Dr. G. And if you like this episode, be sure to subscribe so that you can get notified of when the next episode is going to be. And also, I'll catch you next time. Have a great one. Be strong, be brave, and unleash your greatness.